What's up, poker players? Hope you guys are out there crushing it on the tables. In today's video, we're going to take a look at another final table from over last weekend. This is the $1,000 guaranteed Big Ten tourney. Prize pool is $14.35. Our current chip stack is about at $60,000, and we are sitting 8 of 9. Let's jump right into the poker action. The first hand we're going to take a look at, we are not involved in. We have 10 deuce on the button and click the auto fold button, but the cutoff raises and the big blind only has 375 chips on top, so they of course are going to be calling this open raise. We have a 9-3 offsuit in the big blind against a king 4 in the cutoff, and the king 4 holds with the king high, taking down this pot and eliminating one more player. We are down to 8, and we are currently sitting in 8th place. Click the auto fold button for jack 7 in the cutoff, and jumping ahead a couple hands, we now have pocket 7s in the small blind. Blinds and antes are still at 3,000, 6,000. We had about 46, 47,000 to start this hand, almost 8 big blinds, and we need to start making some moves on this final table. Pocket 7s is a great hand to be doing that with. Folds around to the button, who opens for a min raise, and with the pocket 7s, we are going to be jamming here. We have just enough chips in our stack to make it kind of a tough decision, but the button quickly folds, and we take this one down pre-flop, which is completely fine with me. And we now have over 11 big blinds, and pick up queen 10 on the button this time. Folds around to us, and with just more than 11 big blinds, I elect to just jam here, and we get a quick call from the big blind. We are dominated going into the flop. We need a 10 on the turn or river, and boom, there's a 10 and another one, doubling up. Just in case one wasn't good enough, they threw in another. Got lucky there, but shit, I'm gonna take it. And we are now 6 of 8, a little bit less than 25 big blinds. That double up was huge for our chip stack. Click the auto fold for the 9-5 offsuit. Fold around to the small blind, who puts in a little bit larger than 3x raise. The big blind folds, and we skip ahead, and we have ace king of spades on the next hand. It folds around to us, and we are going to be opening, of course. Make it a little bit larger than 2x. 13,125 is the bet. Cutoff and button fold, and the small blind puts in a 3-bet. So far, the small blind has been pretty loose aggressive, 3-betting almost 17% over the 74 hand sample, which really shouldn't make a huge difference. I think we should always be 4-bet jamming here with the ace king. We have a monster in this spot, and we do get a fold from the small blind and add quite a few chips to our stack. Once again, we are now 3rd of 8 with a chip stack just over 192,000. We are dealt queen 4 offsuit on this hand, and click that auto fold button. Folds around to the cutoff, who opens to 16.5, a little bit less than 3x. Button and small blind fold, and the big blind jams all in. Cutoff doesn't hesitate, quickly calls the all in with ace king, and we are up against pocket 3s, and the 3s hold, doubling up. On the next hand, we are dealt pocket 7s and under the gun +1, and are at 32 big blinds. We have a decent chip stack now, a little bit more to work with, and open to a little bit larger than 2x, make it 12,525, and the small blind calls. Flop is king high 2-tone, 2 spades on the board. Pretty draw heavy. We pretty much just have showdown value with the pocket 7s right here, so I elect to check back on the flop. 5 doesn't really change too much on the turn, and the small blind bets 1/3 pot. Small blind looks to have pretty high betting tendencies, pretty aggressive. Thinking about making a call here. If I do call, hopefully we fade both the straight and flush draws up top, which is exactly what happens. The heart draw got there, and the small blind checks to us. I'm content with just the showdown value here. I think there's a good chance that our hand is in the lead, so I do click the check button, and our opponent chose pocket nines. We lost a few chips on that one, but not too upset with the way we played it. I think we kept it pretty cheap, which is the goal when we just have a showdown value hand like pocket sevens. And jumping ahead a couple hands, we now have pocket sixes in the small blind. Blinds and antes are at 3,500, 7,000. We are a little bit more than 20 big blinds to start this hand. Folds around to the button, who we have seen open quite a bit, over 60% of hands in this 96 hand sample. We jam with the pocket sixes, and we get a quick fold from the button. Jumping ahead once again, we now have ace king offsuit in the big blind, starting the hand with about 167,000 chips. Fold around to the small blind, who completes, which is a little bit different of a line from this opponent who has been opening up quite a bit, but we have a very strong hand and want to add some chips to this pot, so I make it 3x 21,000, and we get a fold. Now up over 25 big blinds. Once again, we are dealt pocket deuces on the next hand in the small blind. We get an open from under the gun to 19,000. Solid, pretty tight player in under the gun, going to have a tight opening range from that spot, so I elect to just fold the pocket deuces pre-flop. Jumping ahead again a few hands, blinds and antes are now up to 4,000, 8,000, and we have a button jam into two pretty short stacks in the blinds. Small blind folds, big blind calls. It is queen six offsuit and ace four offsuit in the big blind. Definitely something we should be keeping notes of, that queen six is a jamming hand from the player to our left. Queen comes on the turn and takes down this pot, eliminating one player. We are down to 7 players. Jumping ahead a little bit, our chip stack has gone down somewhat, starting the hand at about 110,000, and we are dealt king 10 offsuit in the big blind, and we get an open from under the gun. Under the gun +1 is thinking for a little bit here, but does jam their entire stack in, which is a little bit more than 15 big blinds. With an under the gun open and an under the gun +1 jam, we can get rid of our king 10 offsuit pretty easily in the big blind, especially now that the cutoff player rejams here. Under the gun gets out of the way, and we go heads up to a flop. It is queen 9 suited from under the gun +1 and pocket aces in the cutoff. Interesting play with the queen 9 suited there. Queen 9's got some draws and hits it, cracking the aces. Let's move ahead again. Looks like my HUD has crashed. Hold'em manager is not active anymore at the table. Not that important either when our starting chip stack is at about 70,000, 7 big blinds. Folds around to the small blind, who we have seen open very wide and very often. And once again, they do not disappoint, jamming their stack in, which is 13.5 big blinds. Only 7 big blinds effectively, since that is what we have in our stack. And I make a quick call here with the king 5 suited. Kind of a loose call, but we are up against a very loose open range from our opponent in the small blind. We flop a 5, but our opponent flops a 6. We need a 5 or a king going into the river, and we cannot get there and get eliminated in 7th place in this final table. Besides letting our chip stack slowly dwindle down towards the end of this tournament, I think we played pretty well. I'm never disappointed anytime we make a final table. Head down to the video description for the links to all the poker products that I use, including Hold'em Manager, which has crashed on me today, but this problem will also be soon resolved. I have found out that the cause of the crashes in my computer is the RAM, and that is going to be replaced here in a couple days, after which I will start streaming a lot more. Been a little hesitant to do the streams since my computer does regularly crash on me, so I want a dependable computer so that the stream doesn't all of a sudden drop in the middle of a tournament session, just be a pain in the ass. But make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any of the future videos or streams. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Click that subscribe button if you have not done that yet. We've gotten so many new subscribers over the last couple months. It's been crazy. I love the little community we got going. I love all the comments that you guys are leaving. Having a ton of fun putting these videos together. I hope you guys are enjoying watching them as much as I am making these. That just about does it. I will be back soon with a new video, but until then, I'll see you guys out on the virtual felt.
Run with the feeling of being alive while we're jumping off the porch like mom's not home. Just a couple kids living